Hello, welcome back to our Morrowind playthrough. In the last video, we finished up becoming the Nerevarine of all the Ashlander tribes. We got told we're supposed to meet with the Archcanon in Vivek City, and then possibly meet with Vivek himself. So we're trying to track down the Archcanon. Most of these guys seem to not like us because they believe in the temple and not in the Nerevarine.
Outlander, what do you want?
I want you to get out of the way in this hallway. Alright, so we're just trying to figure out the location of where this Archcanon character is. So we're kind of exploring the temple district, because we can't get into Vivek's palace until we meet with this guy wherever he is. I don't think we're headed to the library. Let's try Canon offices or Canon quarters, maybe. Not who we're looking for. Up to the temple, maybe? Basically, we don't want to be in the Canon quarters or Canon offices. We want to be up in the temple somehow. Okay, let's head up top, because I think this part up here is maybe the temple.
What is this about?
Try asking this person. Meet the Archcanon. They want to speak with us, warn us to avoid confrontation with the Ordinators. But if we're a wanted criminal... Okay, so we need to go to the East Chapel of High Fame. Okay, here's High Fame, so we're kind of in the right place now. Now we just have to figure out where this East Chapel is and where the Archcanon is. All this just to get a key up to go meet with Vivek.
Haven't I heard of you?
Short blade level 60. Alchemy level 51. We're gaining some levels here, some pretty difficult levels using these books, so. We're actually kind of creeping towards another level up. Okay, yes, this guy doesn't seem to want to tell us too much.
Speak your need.
Oh, that's the way back outside. Not what we need. Huh. I think we need in there, but the door's locked and there's a guard right there. I don't know if we have invisibility. We can use our tower key to unlock it. I just don't know if we have invisibility to make sure he doesn't see us do it. We're not too tight on gold right now, but we need in that room. I mean, the fine for picking a lock isn't going to be massive. Don't see any potions of invisibility. Do I really not have an invisibility spell somehow? This many items and somehow don't have anything that will render us invisible. I'm just gonna do it. Pay the gold. Did we get kicked out of the temple for that? Not that we've been doing much with them, but it means we probably can't buy spells from them, which kinda sucks. Ooh. Light armor to 56. Armorer to 43. Couple nice books hidden in here.
Do you want something?
Okay, you are the one they call Nerevarine, you're a heretic, and all who support you are heretics. You might think the law protects heretics, but some in the temple care little for law. Amalexia was the virtuous wife of Lord Nerevar and later the consort of Lord Vivek. High Fane is the largest temple in Vardenfell. Archcanon Sarioni presides over it. You are Sarioni, dude. And talking about himself in third person. So Cecil was the mightiest wizard and wise counselor of the first council. Come on, what do we gotta ask for you to let us? Okay, at once brave and honorable, and cunning and devious, Lord Vivek is a rare combination of virtues and flamboyant adventure, prudent statesman. Yeah, like, this guy wanted to meet with us. He doesn't seem to be saying anything now that we're here. Okay, that door's locked, and likely the way we were probably supposed to come in. It tells you to enter through the High Fane Temple. It doesn't tell you to enter through the Hall of Wisdom, so we came this way. I don't understand why this guy's not giving us the key, though. Ah, here we go. The temple must protect the people from false doctrines, and your association with Imperial intelligence make your motivations and integrity suspect. But you have been chosen Hortator and Nerevarine by the Dunmer people, and we have reached a crisis with Dagoth. We can no longer defend the people against the awakened Sixth House. You and your prophecies may represent our last hope. Our situation is desperate, but I would rather have you hear the details of our situation and the circumstances leading up to that situation from Lord Vivek himself. He's asked to see you. Would you agree to a private meeting with him?
Wealth beyond measure.
Hear in person what he has to say. Good. Here are the keys. One to the private back entrance to my quarters, and the other to the locked entrance of the Palace of Vivek. So let's go meet with this tribunal god and see what he has to say. There's going to be a lot of reading and lore in this video today. So we're finally going to hear his side of the story and what happened at Red Mountain when the dwarves disappeared.
I don't have a lot of patience.
Alright, I expected you. We have business, you and I. When I was young like you, I was very impatient, so I will keep this business short. Then later there may be time for other things. First I propose to remove the curse upon the Nerevarine and the persecution of the dissident priests, and proclaim to all of Morrowind that G's Nuts is the incarnate and Nerevarine, the prophesied savior of Morrowind, and the last hope to withstand the menace of Dagoth and the Sixth House. These things I will do, whether you wish or not. Okay, so next I propose to surrender to you the power and responsibility of defeating Dagoth. You may choose to refuse. I will not compel you. You will receive power as a gift in the form of an artifact called Wraithguard. You may accept the gift, then do with it as you will. You will receive the responsibility as an oath. You may give your oath, then keep it or break it as you like. First, will you accept Wraithguard as a gift? Yes. good, sensible of you, and now will you give your oath before all gods and men, before all spirits, visible and invisible, before my honor and your honor, to dedicate yourself and Wraithguard to defeat and destruction of Dagoth-Ur and the perseverance of Morrowind. Not very sensible, but very good. I was hoping for someone who would not have hesitations about making such an oath. You will now have a brief momentary sensation of time passing. Don't be alarmed. You are being taken out of time in order to avoid the unpleasant experience of learning how to use Wraithguard. Okay, there's a brief sensation of motion in total darkness, floating but without sense of weight or direction. You know it. Now I will notify the temple. You are our champion. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. We will have time for questions if you like, or you may leave as you wish. But I think there are at least 2 things you ought to know before you leave: how to use Wraithguard and how to defeat Dagoth-Ur. I thought I just learned how to use Wraithguard. To defeat Dagoth-Ur, go to Red Mountain to recover the artifact Hammer Sunder from the Gate Citadel. Verminal, then recover the artifact Blade Keening from the Gate Citadel Ortisol, then proceed with Wraithguard, Sunder, and Keening to the Citadel of Dagoth-Ur. Within the Citadel, find the Heart of Lorcan. Use the 3 artifacts to sever Dagoth-Ur's connection to the Heart, and he will be destroyed, and the Blight ended on Morrowind. Okay. To destroy Dagoth-Ur, you must sever his connection with the Heart of Lorcan. To do this, strike the heart with the artifact Sunder once, then strike the heart more than once with the artifact Blade Keening. You must wear Wraithguard because you cannot handle either Sunder or Keening unless you are wearing Wraithguard. That is the short and simple explanation. Here is a long, detailed explanation written down for you in your convenience. Read it, study it, commit it to memory. In my library, I have made available 2 conflicting accounts of the events of Red Mountain, my own true account and another false account, common among the Ashlanders and preserved in the Apocrypha. I don't care whether you believe my account or not. I leave it up to you to judge which one is true. I want your trust and willing cooperation, so I've had the priests make copies of a number of documents. They are here for you to read and take with you. You need to know where Dagoth-Ur. Okay, this is a list of things we can ask about now. We'll go through them kinda quickly if we can. He was the former Lord High Council of the House Dagoth. He was Lord Nerevar's generation, older than we, and a mighty sorcerer, and enhanced in life. In his sustained shadow immortality, he appears to be highly intelligent, severely deluded, a mortal monster with unparalleled supernatural abilities. He appears by turns lucid and deranged, compassionate and bestial, profoundly wise and profoundly distorted. In short, he is a mad god. Confer with the ordinators and void armigers garrisoning at Ghost Gate to get the latest information. We know nothing for sure, but we have learned much from interrogating 6 house cultists and victims of dream compulsions, and from the study of Dagoth-Ur's actions. Temple scholars and inquisitors have prepared a document that summarizes what we know or suspect. Take this copy of his plans. He is able to send mind into dreams of susceptible victims across vast distances. The victims either are swayed by his compulsions or driven mad. He also seems nearly invulnerable to physical and magical harm. His flesh and the flesh of his followers evolves towards a mutatable magic form. He's the highest ranks and can control manifestations of flesh. Chief among his servants are the 7 brothers. The ash vampires' powerful heart rates. They're cunning sorcerers of old. These creatures appear to die, but always are revived at the heart. Somehow he's conferred some portion of his immortality upon them. Okay. Is there anything left to ask him? Prepare for war. Beyond the ghost fence, there are no safe places, no allies. Stockpile resources and plan for retreat and replenishment. He never ventured out of the heart chamber, the place under Red Mountain where the heart of Lorcan lies. It's still there or nearby. He's constructing a new god, a Kulikon, known as the Second Nomidium. Alright, so now we have his library to read. Alright, I'll do my best to read through these. So for the past 20 years, the Tribunal have tried to unsuccessfully execute this plan. However, we failed because we were required to stage an assault and simultaneously maintain the Ghost Gate fence. To prevent the threatened large-scale breakout of Dagoth-Ur's blighted hosts, with the Nerevarine leading the assault, and the Tribunal free to devote their full energies to maintaining the Ghost Fence, this plan has a greater chance of success. Unfortunately, however, the loss of the artifact Sunder and Keening in recent increased Dagoth-Ur's strength possess new problems for the execution of the plan. Our plan has the following 5 phases. Aggressive raids to scout inside the Ghost Fence. Aggressive raids to neutralize Dagoth-Ur's Ash Vampire kin and recover the artifacts. Assault on Vaminal to neutralize Dagoth Venom, recover Sunder. Assault on Ordosol to neutralize Dagoth Ordos, recover Keening. Assault on Citadel Dagoth with the artifacts Wraithguard, Keening, and Sunder to sever his connection with the Heart of Lorcan. The Tribunal Ordinators and Buoyant Armigers are familiar with the terrain and will provide maps. Ghost Fence is dangerous, and the Nerevarine will need to be familiar with its particular challenges. After measuring skills and resources against Dagoth-Ur's pace and a campaign altering. Okay. So raids on the Citadels. Dagoth-Ur's kin have become markedly more powerful in recent decades after remaining stable for thousands of years. If they can be individually isolated and destroyed, they will not be able to support Dagoth-Ur in later stages of the war. It may also be that the dramatic increase in their power comes from items enchanted by Dagoth-Ur. Okay, so basically go to Vaminal, get Sunder back, learn the secrets of its enhancements. We may be able to get notebooks and journals of Kagernak. Recover Keening from Dagoth Ordos, learn its secrets and enhancements. Again, you may have access to journals and notebooks of Kagernak. All previous stages and preparations for this stage, recent expeditions, show that Dagoth has undergone extensive expansion. The location will need to be explored carefully. The known route to the Heart Chamber will be well defended. Alternate routes may exist. Dagoth will have anticipated our plan to destroy him by attacking the Heart and will almost certainly personally oppose approach to the Heart Chamber. Together, Tribunal and could defeat him. He's grown stronger since then. Admittedly, the Tribunal has been distracted. The adoption of this phase campaign seems to offer the best chances for success. In retrospect, the Tribunal's decision to directly assault the Citadel rather than proceed step by step was a serious error. The Tribunal did not feel it had the option of slow-paced, deliberate campaign, given that they were competing with other priorities like maintaining the Ghost Fence. The Nerevarine, on the other hand, should be best served by a careful step-by-step advance with additional advantage of building confidence along the way, while success would undermine Dagoth own assurance in his defenses. Employing Kagernak's tools against Dagoth the source of his unnatural power is the Heart of Lorcan. During mythic times, the gods took and hid the heart beneath Red Mountain as a punishment for creating the mortal plane. The Dwemer discovered the heart while building underground colonies. High Craft Lord Kagernak enhanced tools intended to tap into the power of the heart. The War of the First Council was fought to prevent the sacrilege. Kagernak's use of these tools and the disappearance of the Dwemer race marked the end of the war. Kagernak's tools were recovered by Lord Dagoth Dagoth was left to guard the tools, while Nerevar came to consult with us, his advisors. In his absence, Dagoth experimented with the tools upon the heart and was corrupted. When we returned, he refused to turn over the tools. When he attacked us, we drove him away. We left Red Mountain with the tools. Subsequently, Sothasil discovered their secrets and the connection to the heart, enabling ourselves to transform mortal natures. Thus, we became the Tribunal. Dagoth survived our attacks without the tools in a manner not well understood. He also managed to establish a connection with the heart, transform himself into an immortal being. Our plan to destroy Dagoth also runs the risk of destroying the Tribunal. The plan is to permanently disrupt Kagernak's enhancements upon the heart, severing the connection with Dagoth ourselves and rendering ourselves all mortal. Immortal Kagernak may then be destroyed. The possible death of the Tribunal is judged as a necessary sacrifice. The normal procedure for establishing a connection with the heart is a 3-step process. The wearer of Wraithguard strikes the heart with a hammer, causing the heart to produce a tone. Then the wearer of Wraithguard strikes the heart with keening, shattering the pure tone into a prism of tone shades. These shades giving him immortal and divine nature. The Nerevarine will not be taught the secret rituals to become a god. Instead, will strike the heart with keening for a second time, causing the tones to diverge into unstable patterns of interference. Further strikes with keening will disrupt the tones, with the ultimate result, shattering and dispelling the original enhancements binding the heart, thereby severing the heart's links. Stop the corruption. Will also corrupt enhancements on the heart and end the blight in Morrowind. Okay, the Nerevarine may be tempted to steal the power of the heart of Dagoth-Ur, and so the Sill alone know the secret. Dagoth-Ur may, in extremity, propose to teach the Nerevarine how to use Kagernak's tool to become a god. We doubt that the Nerevarine is a fool enough to trust him and take this risk. Be warned, the Nerevarine can't equip Keening or Sunder unless wearing Wraithguard. The Nerevarine will be injured every moment holding them unless protected by Wraithguard. One last note, Dagoth-Ur must not get a hold of Wraithguard. The Nerevarine must prepare with recall or intervention if there's any risk of death or capture. The element of surprise, Dagoth-Ur will not expect you to destroy Kagernak's enhancements on the heart. He does not know it is possible. He would not do so himself, and he knows we have never tried it. He will not believe anyone would want to sacrifice the promise of such power and further advancement in House Dagoth, as in all great houses, is by challenge, confrontation of hierarchy. If he defeats the Ash Vampires, the Sixth House will be viewed in that light. Dagoth-Ur and his kin may assume that the Neravarine's ambition is to control the heart. Given that assumption, it is only reasonable that the Nerevarine would try to defeat each of Dagoth-Ur's subordinates in turn. Working up to Dagoth-Ur, the Nerevarine can defeat Dagoth-Ur and control the heart. Dagoth-Ur should try to recruit the Nerevarine into House Dagoth. It may be possible to pretend to join and then betray him. However, any attempt to deceive him will be very risky. They have a tradition of subterfuge and treachery, and because of this, he's a deceiver. We place no compulsion upon the Nerevarine to adhere to the plans described here. We believe that they offer the best chance of destroying Dagoth-Ur, but have chosen to place our trust in the Neravarine's judgment. We see no alternative. If there are any doubts of the questions, ask Vivek. It may be that if the Nerevarine succeeds, the Tribunal will not survive. Such sentiments as might have been expressed to the Tribunal should in that case be addressed to the land and the people of Morrowind. That was a mouthful. I need to catch my breath. Alright, the Battle of Red Mountain. Okay, the following transcripts are the words of Lord Vivek. He confronted Vivek with the Ashlander tradition surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain and with the prophecies of the Nerevarine to unnamed magistrates, blah blah blah, who can clearly recall the events of the distant past, but you have asked me to tell you in my own words the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the Tribunal, and the prophecies of Nerevar Reborn. Here's what I can... This is a lot to read. Here's what I can tell you. The Chimer first abandoned the herds and tents of their nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses. We loved the Daedra, worshipped them as gods, but our brethren the Dwemer scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So Chimer and Dwemer were always at war until the Nords came and invaded Resdain. Only then did Chimer and Dwemer put away their strife and join together to cast out invaders. I forget that Morrowind was originally called Resdain. Once Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chimer and General Dumak of the Dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. In that time, I was but a junior counselor to Nerevar, and Nerevar's queen Amalexia and his other favorite counselor, Sothasil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive given the bitter disputes between the Chimer and Dwemer. But the negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Dumak somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But Dagoth Lord of House Dagoth, trusted friend of both Nerevar and the Dwemer, brought us proof that High Engineer Kagernak of the Dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorkin, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, a mockery of the Chimer faith, and a fearsome weapon. We urge Nerevar to make war on the dwarves and to destroy this threat to the Chimer beliefs and security. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumak and asked. Kagernak took great offense and asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the Dwemer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Olaman, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagoth said was indeed true, that the creation of a new god, the Dwemer, should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told the goddess what the goddess had said, we felt judgments confirmed and again counseled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust in friendship and reminded Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimer against impiety and dangerous ambitions of the Dwemer. Then Nerevar went back to Vardenfell one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace, but this time the friends Nerevar and Dumak quarreled bitterly, and as a result the Chimer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Dumak's armies out into the field, pinned them there, where Nerevar, Dagoth and a small group of companions could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There Nerevar, Chimer King, met Dumak, the Dwarf King, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics, with Dumak fallen and threatened by Dagoth and others. Kagernak turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Kagernak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, the Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace, but Kagernak's tools remained, and Dagoth seized them and carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Kagernak has destroyed his own people. With these things, we should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands." But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we should do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I have not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth until I return." So Dagoth was protecting the tools in the Heart Chamber. Nerevar was carried to us, where he waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us all that transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dwemer had used the tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the heart of Lorkin held wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from others present that Dagoth had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal, and no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel as he requested, proposing we should preserve the tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimer people, and who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to a distant realm from which they may one day return, threaten our security again. Therefore, we need these tools to study them and their principles so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition, that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Azura, and that the tools would never be used in the profane manner that the Dwemer had intended. We readily agreed and swore solemn oaths to Nerevar's dictation. So then we went with Nerevar back to Red Mountain and met with Dagoth-Ur. He refused to deliver the tools to us, saying that they were dangerous and we could not touch them. Dagoth-Ur seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling of them. By now I feel sure that he has privately learned the powers of the tools and had in some confused way decided he must have them for himself. Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow Dagoth-Ur and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools, delivered them to Sotha-Sil for study and safekeeping. For years we kept our oaths. We swore to Azura, Nerevar, but during that time in secret Sotha-Sil must study the tools, divine their mysteries, and at last he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace and justice and honor for nobles. With health and prosperity for commoners, the Tribunal as immortal patrons and guides. Dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made the pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagranak's tools. And no sooner than had we completed our rituals and begun to discover our new powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that Champion Nerevar, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy and to make sure such profane knowledge might never again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Sotha-Sil said to her, "The gods are cruel and arbitrary and distant from the hopes and fears of Mer. Your age is past, we the new gods born of flesh and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding. Inconsistent spirit, we are bold and fresh and will not fear you." And then in that moment, all Chimer were changed into Dunmer, and their skins turned ashen and their eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at that time that this had happened to us, but Azura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen the fate and the fate of your people, and all Dunmer shall share your fate from now to the end of time. You think of yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness." And Azura left us alone in the darkness, and we were all afraid, but we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build a new world of our dreams. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sotha-Sil spoke to them, saying that it is not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and a sign of the special favor they might enjoy as new Mer. No longer barbarians trembling before the ghosts and spirits, but civilized Mer speaking directly to their immortal friends and patrons. The three faces of the tribunal, we were inspired by Citadels' speech and vision and took to heart. Over time we crafted customs and institutions of a just and honorable society, and the lane of Resdane knew millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity unknown by other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, Dagoth had survived, and even the light of our bold new world shined even more brightly beneath Red Mountain. The darkness gathered. The darkness that was close to kin, the bright light that Sotasil coaxed from the heart of Lorcan with the tools of Kagernak. As the darkness grew, we fought it and crafted walls to confine it, but we never could destroy it, for the source of darkness was the same as the source of their own divine inspiration, and in the later days of Morrowind, reduced to subjugation, province of Western Empire, as the glory of the temple fades and the dark rises from Red Mountain. We are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited for the prophecies of the Nerevarine. Is our old companion, Nerevar Reborn, or a pawn of the Empire, cat's paw of Azura, or some simple twist of fate? But we insist you adhere to temporal doctrine and conform to the strictures dividing the Hypographa from the Apocrypha, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Act as a dutiful priest should, in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me and you will know what it is to stand against a god. Okay, Dagother's plans, from interrogating captured sleepers and six-house cultists, from the study of manuscripts written by cultists and victims of the dream-induced mania, Lord Vivek concerning historical campaigns against Red Mountain, and from Horde conjectures, inferences made upon these materials. This is our best estimate of his motivations. Establish a theocracy in Morrowind based on the worship of newborn god Akulikin. And the sixth house Dagoth as the dominant political power in Morrowind. Through charismatic conversion, unite the Dunmer people under the guidance of Dagoth to battle against foreign animals who hold Morrowind in subjection. Oh, going cross-eyed reading all this. Basically, he's crafting a second Numidium, which is a giant robotic god to take over the world, using Kagernak's tools. Expose the false worship of the Tribunal, destroy the authority and political power of the temple. How much dissident priests or the cult of the Nerevarine may be controlled or influenced by the sixth house in this regard is open to speculation. drive the Empire from Morrowind, recover ancient territories stolen by Skyrim and Argonia, extend the worship of Akulakan to all nations, Tamriel through subversion and conquest, expand the Sixth House, secure Red Mountain against the Tribunal intruders, deny Tribunal access to the heart, weakening the temple, and securing the creation of the Kulakan. Create passive servants in ever-widening circles around Red Mountain by broadcasting compulsions, couched in dream imagery, to susceptible subjects in their sleep, establish a major operational base at Kogarun for further operations in the Ash Wastes, establish smaller bases near port villages, infiltrate and subvert smuggling syndicates, recruit willing followers from dissatisfied populations, including the underworld, the poor, and the rabid anti-imperial activists. Phase 3, expand from smaller bases to other towns and villages, recruit and indoctrinate subjects made susceptible by dream sendings, occupy abandoned towers and ruins, and train corrupted cultists and raiders and irregular troops, identify, discredit, and decimate possible sources of political resistance, use assassination and terror to weaken, distract, and disrupt the legions and the imperial bureaucracy against with their halal sympathizers, inspire popular uprisings of the native poor against the foreign rich and powerful, summon sleepers and dreamers to Dagoth-Ur to work on the second new medium, which is the same thing as the Akulakan. It's a giant robotic god. He thinks on a large time scale for the most part, in the outside of time scale of the divine consciousness. He thinks only obstacles of mythic scale are worth consideration. He believes he is fated to rule Morrowind, to free Morrowind of the Empire, and to become the new hard-loving father of Morrowind. Given that perspective, the only opposing forces Dagoth-Ur worries about are the Tribunal, the Daedra, the Emperor, and the Incarnate. With the Tribunal's loss of Sunder and Keening, the diminishing resources of Vivek and Malexi, and so the Sil, Dagoth-Ur believes he has primarily gained a decisive strategy advantage. On a mortal timescale, the battle may last for centuries, but the outcome is in no doubt, and Akulakan may be a device for dramatically reducing the timescale of a decisive victory. The myth of a dynamic invincibility of the Emperor and the Empire has long been an unquantifiable and intimidating threat, but recent rumors of unrest in Citadel, of the Emperor's failing health, an unsettled question of the succession, have diminished the scale of that threat. Nevertheless, the Nerevarine has been handpicked by the Emperor and may cause Dagoth-Ur considerable anxiety. The Daedra represent no coherent obstacle to Dagoth-Ur, nonetheless their personal abilities and their influence upon fanatic followers is considerable. He's concerned about them. The Incarnate represents Saint Nerevar, a mythic force that has previously defeated Dagoth-Ur. He is obsessed with this threat. At the same time, he knew that Nerevar personally, he knew him and knew his weaknesses, might have some hope of seducing and negotiating with Nerevar reincarnation. Further, when Nerevar and the Tribunal defeated Dagoth-Ur, they were strong, allied, and now are not. Dagoth-Ur's plans. Good reason to believe that at this time he will prevail. Recent timescale of his activities. Him and his kin lie dreaming beneath Red Mountain before 882. At that time, him and his ash vampires awake refreshed and emerge from lower Red Mountain. They go into the heart chamber, finds himself with his brethren in a ritual of his own devising, first stages of construction of the second Numidium. They came up with during their long sleep are begun, and the Atronach constructs in the chamber near the heart of Lorcan, keeping the second Numidium project a secret from the Tribunal is high priority. Okay, the Tribunal arrive at Red Mountain for their annual ritual bathing in the heart's power. Dagoth-Ur and Ash vampires ambush the Tribunal. They're driven away and prevented from restoring themselves with Kagranak's tools at the heart of Lorcan. Intermittent Tribunal campaigns assault Red Mountain. The Tribunal and supporting forces seek to force access to the heart chamber, but are driven back. Dagoth-Ur recruits sleepers and dreamers through dream sendings. Cultists are recruited through dream compulsion. Weaker cultists become corpus beasts, stronger ones advance through stages of ascended sleepers. Kogoron, reoccupied by Dagoth-Uthal, and fortified as an advanced base for the Sixth House. Sixth House bases are founded near Narmak and in the waterfront areas of Vivek. Operatives exploit smuggler organizations and communications to spread their influence. Smaller cells of Sixth House cultists in every town in Vardenfell. Larger Sixth House operations are concealed in remote dungeons where creatures are bred and cultists are trained for the coming war. Amalexians south is still lose the artifacts Keening and Sunder to Dagoth Ordos and Nemin. Vivek rescues Amalexian south is still, but failing to recover the artifacts, the Tribunal retreat from Red Mountain in disorder. Surviving buoyant armatures and companions know the Tribunal was forced to retreat, but do not know how serious a reversal the Tribunal has suffered. The three tribunes return to their respective capitals and continue to grow weaker without access to the heart. Because of the resources required to support the ghost fence, the inner circle of the temple priesthood has begun to suspect the tribunes have suffered seriously from wounds, but do not recognize the scale of the problem. Campaign of Sixth House assassinations and prominent imperial citizens of Hulalu Imperial sympathizers suddenly increase the number, seriousness of attacks by cultists and victims deranged by soul sickness. Dagoth-Ur can apparently perceive and communicate directly through his cultists. Sleepers and dreamers are often reported speaking with his voice. Little is known about the features, scale, or stage of completion of the Akulikon. No one has gained entrance to the Heart Chamber since Keening and Sunder were lost. It may substantially aid the Akulakon's construction. Alright, so this last one is an account of the beliefs of the dissident priests of what happened at Red Mountain. It's basically the same story that Vivek told in the first note. I'll scroll through it, so if you really want to read it, you can. I'm kind of running out of breath. Whew. Basically, the difference is that they believe that the Tribunal murdered Nerevar. Aside from that, most of the story remains true. There's a couple differences with the dwarves being immortal and them being able to remove the immortality and kill them, but the basic difference here is that the Ashlanders believe Nerevar was murdered by the Tribunal to gain power. But aside from that, most of the story is true. Dagoth-Ur is building a second Numidium, which is basically the man-made god that Tiber Septim used to conquer Tamriel. So Dagoth-Ur is going to do the same thing and take over Tamriel in the name of the 6th house if we are unable to stop him. Aside from that, this story is about basically the same. But the small difference in the beliefs of the Ashlanders and the temple are what led to the prosecution of the dissident priests. They believe that Amalexius, Sotasil, and Vivek killed Lord Nerevar, and that Lord Nerevar was prophesied to come back and not only take out Dagoth-Ur, but also take out the Tribunal. Again, if you want to read this, I am going to scroll through it. If not, you can skip ahead in the video. Now, it doesn't really mention how Resdane became known as Morrowind instead. I'm guessing that had to do with the creation of the Tribunal and the Dunmer people. Alright. Yeah, reading through this kind of looks the same. They go to war because of the dwarves building the second Numidium with the Heart of Lorcan. Sneak into the Heart Chamber once again. Just looking for the part where things are a little different towards the end. Most of the start of the story seems the same though. It seems like they're just slightly different versions of the same story. I don't know, I kind of believe the truth kind of lies somewhere in between. I don't think either side is completely telling the whole story. But in this version of the story, King Dumac, the king of the dwarves, didn't really know what Kagernak was up to. It's kind of Kagernak who is causing all these problems. It's kind of interesting though, because it outlines a bit more of Nerevar and Dumac arguing before this war breaks out. I swear by the 15 and 1 golden tones that I shall kill you and your people. Wow. Yeah, so Dagoth in this story killed Kagernak and took the tools. I'm just gonna kind of go through this a bit slower, so if anyone is kind of reading along, they can. So in this version, Lord Nerevar summoned Azura to see what to do with the tools. So they kind of believe that the Dwemer were gods, had made themselves into gods, and that Dagoth and Nerevar used the tools to turn them back into mortals and then kill them, basically. This part's all the same. He goes to ask the tribunal what to do with the tools. He leaves Dagoth there until he returns. So again, same thing in the story. Lord Nerevar didn't want to use the tools, but the tribunal did. And in this part, the tribunal basically murders him. They use poisoned candles, poisoned robes, and poisoned invocations, and Nerevar was murdered. Basically, Azura curses them and tells them Lord Nerevar will be back to deal with them later, threatens them. they went back and faced Dagoth he could see that what had been done because his skin had been changed as well. He's basically gonna escape, come back to curse them later, and Lord Nerevar as well is gonna come back. So again, the story's pretty much the same, aside from this time Nerevar was murdered and Dagoth killed Kagernak, and the dwarves were gods but were made mortal by the tools and then killed. Anyway, that was quite a lot of lore for this video. Quite a lot of reading for me, so I think we're going to cut the video off at the end of this scroll. So, come back and see our next video in which we will be reclaiming the tools of Kagernak from Red Mountain and preparing to take on the final battle of Red Mountain against Dagoth. So much less reading, much more exciting raiding and combat in the next video. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.